Water begins dripping from the ceiling, but there are no pipes above. It starts inside a small apartment in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. A man sits quietly, recently released from prison on furlough. His name is Don Decker. In his early 20s at the time, Decker had already lived a difficult life. Accounts described a troubled upbringing, time spent moving between family members, and later, incarceration for burglary-related offences. Those who knew him described him as withdrawn, sometimes volatile, carrying a weight that wasn't always visible. He had been granted temporary leave to attend his grandfather's funeral, a man he was reportedly close to. The kind of loss that doesn't always show itself immediately, but settles quietly. Outside, it's winter, cold, dry, still. But inside, water begins to form, not from a burst pipe, not from a leak, but from the ceiling itself. Witnesses later described droplets appearing, then falling, then spreading. Walls become damp. The floor grows slick. Even the earth feels heavier, humid, unnatural for the season. Some described the moisture as fine at first, almost like condensation forming in patches, before becoming steady drips. And then, the dripping intensifies. According to multiple accounts, the phenomenon began shortly after Decker returned from the funeral. He was staying with friends at the time. Present in the apartment were multiple witnesses, including the tenants and visitors who would later recount the same sequence of events. Water appeared without warning, not confined to one area, but spreading across ceilings, walls, and surfaces. In some reports, droplets seemed to form in mid-air before falling. In others, moisture gathered along ceiling lines, then released in uneven intervals. What made the situation more unusual, temperatures were below freezing outside, conditions that would normally prevent this kind of humidity indoors. No broken pipes were found, no roof damage, no plumbing faults. Maintenance checks revealed no clear source, and yet, the apartment continued to fill with moisture. At one point, witnesses described water running down vertical walls, pooling along the ceiling, then dripping downward again, as if direction itself had become inconsistent. Then came the escalation. Objects were reported to shift slightly, not thrown, not violently moved, but enough to be noticed. Small items, subtle repositioning, enough to draw attention. Sounds were also reported, faint knocking, tapping, without a clear origin. Some described the atmosphere as increasingly oppressive, heavy, charged, difficult to explain. And then, one of the most unusual details, water appeared to move upward, droplets travelling against gravity, or forming above surfaces before falling. Accounts vary on this point, but multiple witnesses reference behaviour that didn't follow normal expectations. The phenomenon also appeared to follow Decker. When he left the apartment, disturbances were reported in other locations, including, according to several accounts, a nearby restaurant where water began appearing shortly after his arrival. Witnesses there described similar conditions: moisture forming without source, ceiling dampness, unexplained dripping. Police were called. Officers attended the apartment. According to reports, they observed water forming and falling with no visible source. One officer later described seeing droplets appear on the ceiling in real time, without any identifiable entry point. Landlords, maintenance personnel, and others inspected the property. No structural explanation was found, no environmental cause identified. Clergy were also brought in. Accounts state that prayers or blessings were attempted. Some witnesses believe the activity responded, at times intensifying, at times easing. though not in a consistent or predictable way. Decker himself was reported to react strongly during parts of the events, moments of visible distress, physical tension, at times appearing overwhelmed, as if responding to something not visible to others. Descriptions differ depending on the account, but several references point to emotional strain, confusion, and a lack of control over what was happening. No formal scientific investigation reached a confirmed conclusion. There was no controlled study, no repeatable test, only a series of witnessed events, documented through statements, reports, and later retellings. The water eventually stopped. The apartment dried. Inspections found nothing. No damage that explained what had occurred. No system failure. No clear cause. Decker returned to prison after his furlough ended. The phenomenon did not continue in the same way afterward. Those involved moved on, but many maintained their accounts, consistent in detail, consistent in what they believed they witnessed. Because what makes this case difficult isn't just the water, it's the pattern. Appearing around a moment of grief, around a person under pressure, around environments where multiple people reported the same thing, independently. And whether it was environmental, psychological, misunderstood, or something else entirely, the question remains, not just how water appeared where it shouldn't, but why it seemed connected to one person at one moment in time and then stopped.